I'm going to show you probably what is the quickest way to create a campaign ad set and ad. So a full campaign in Facebook. Just go to your ads manager and then hit create here. And this is going to be the quick creation as opposed to the guided creation. So it is an easy way to do things. So I'm just going to name it test campaign. This is where you choose your buying type, which is auction usually, unless you're doing reach and frequency, but the majority of the time it's just going to be an auction buy. You choose your campaign objective. By default, it's traffic, so you can see your awareness, consideration, and conversion objectives here. The most common ones, in my opinion, are the traffic, post engagement, views, conversions, and reach. The benefit of the reach objective here is that you can actually cap the frequency, whereas no other objective here will allow you to do that. So if you're looking for unique reach to reach as many people as possible and only sort of hit them once, you can use a reach objective and control that more there. So we're just going to create a test ad set here. And then we can, let's skip the ad for now. We can come back to the ad later. So that's going to create your campaign and your ad set levels, and hit save to draft. This is the settings that you can apply at the campaign level, so it's very limited, but I would highly recommend setting your campaign limit. Usually it's going to be a minimum of $100, but don't worry about that. That doesn't mean you actually have to spend the $100. You can control your budgets from the ad set level in the next part that we'll see. So just set your limit. It's more of a safety than anything else to make sure you don't spend more than you intend to. So I'll just close that down. You can jump into the campaign name here and we'll open up the ad set level. You can see we've gone from campaign to ad set, and then after this it will go towards the ad level. So to adjust the settings at the ad set level, just hit edit here. It should already be highlighted. You can tick it on the left hand side and then hit this little pencil, or you can just click edit below it here. And this is going to open up all your options at the ad set level. So this is a great space where you do all of your targeting. You can see your potential reach once you sort of adjust your interests and things like that. I would recommend just leaving this. This is a traffic objective. Let's leave this unchanged for the time being. I like to do a lifetime budget if I'm running for a week or so. You can do daily budget. It's entirely up to you. But in this example, we'll just go lifetime budget. So we can say maybe just go $100. Change your dates from maybe the 4th. Let's run for about a week. You can adjust your times here. So typically I would like to go from 4 a.m. until 11:59 p.m. So that gives you a full day here and a full day at the end. You're giving it as much time as possible to spend. The thing with these campaigns is that it is better. It depends on your objective, but to run for a longer time, if you're spending more money, it's going to give the algorithm a better chance to collect data. And especially for conversion campaign types, if you're optimizing towards a conversion, the algorithm needs to see a certain number of those conversions to be able to decide sort of what factors from each user are triggering those conversions, and it can better optimize towards that result. So you basically, the takeaway there is you want to feed the algorithm. Here's where you add in your targeting. If you have a custom audience that you want to use, it will come up here. So these are sort of retargeting audiences that you've built from your own data, and then lookalike audiences, which you may have created from those. So you can select those here. Locations comes up by default. We'll leave it as Australia. This is where you can toggle between your age ranges. So leave that 18 to 65 plus. This is an example. Your gender, you can narrow that down. Languages, this is one of the main things that people do when they jump in here for the first time, is they want to write English, they want to choose a language, but that's going to really cut down your reach because not everybody selects and has language preferences in their Facebook account, and that's sort of where it pulls that data from. So you just want to leave that blank. This is where you can choose your interests, behaviors, and demographics. This is where you add in your targeting. So say you wanted to sort of target gamers or something, you simply just type it in. You can target people who are interested in games, console gamers, that kind of thing. And when you sort of choose one or two, you can hit suggestions if you don't have anything specific in mind, and then you hover over it and it will give you the complete reach. So one thing you need to keep in mind is that this here is worldwide. So that's going to be a lot less when we actually select it. So if you've got one country selected here, when you hover over it, what you're seeing, that 83 billion, that is a worldwide figure. So the actual number of people that you can reach is going to be a lot smaller than that. So you can see the potential reach up here on the top right-hand side is about 1.2 million. I would recommend for cost efficiencies to go somewhere between 500,000 and 1.5 million. Obviously, if you're doing conversion type campaigns and you want to get really targeted, that's where you can afford to have a much lower potential reach, because you do want to see those click-through rates and conversion rates a lot higher. You want to get more and more targeted. In an instance like that, where you do want to narrow it right down, that's where you can select narrow audience here. And so we've selected console gamers and gaming in this example. If we wanted to narrow audience, so we could say we want to target people who are interested in console gamers, gaming, and video games. And that's only cut it down by 100,000 because, let's be honest, video games, console gamers, and gaming are all quite similar. But say you wanted to target console gamers, gaming, who are interested in energy drinks. Oops. So that's cut it right down to 280,000 people. So you're sort of building out that persona of the person you want to target. So because it's an and relationship, so only people who are interested in console gamers, gaming, and energy drinks are going to be able to be targeted here. I would recommend leaving this unticked, expand interest when it may, because if you already know who you want to target, you know the interest, you've already selected it here. So I would recommend leaving that unticked, because then Facebook's going to go a lot broader, and it might affect your results. It's something that you could test. I recommend always testing things to see what does and doesn't work, because what works for someone may or may not work for you. So you can't just go by people's word. I would always recommend testing. Connections here. This is where you can target people who are fans of your own page. You can exclude them. So if you have an ad set where you're targeting fans of your page, I'd recommend in any other ad sets you're running for the same campaign to exclude those, to make sure you're not doubling up and sort of throwing too many ads at that one user. You can target people who responded to your events if you're doing events campaigns. Similarly with app campaigns here. You've got advanced combinations, where you can sort of do a combination of the three that were mentioned there before. And one handy thing to do is, once you've sort of set this up, if you're going to be using this interest a number of times, it's good to save it. You can just save it, and then you don't have to do all this individually the next time around when you're creating a new ad set. Going down to placements, so this is specifically where you want your ads to show. Obviously, Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same company. They are the same. I would always recommend edit placements. Don't just run with automatic, because you want more control over where your ads are going to run. So by default, it will have most of them ticked. Typically, I would run only on the feed. So if you wanted to do Facebook and Instagram, I would recommend running Facebook feed and Instagram feed. Right column is the ads that show in the Facebook feed, but on the very right hand side you often see smaller sort of advertisements there, a little more out of the way. They typically don't see as high click-through rates, because they're not sort of in users' face as much, but it's certainly something that you can test yourself. But to get started, if you want to just jump straight in, I would recommend just running on the feeds. So that's going to run on the Facebook feed here. You can see the example that Facebook gives you of what it's going to look like. And then the Instagram is the same here. So just scrolling down, you can target specific devices, iOS, Android, or all. I would just leave that by default, and I would leave that unchecked, because that's going to cut your reach again. And for optimization and delivery, it's going to give you a default setting here depending on what objective you've chosen. So because the campaign level, we wanted to run a traffic campaign, this is by default link clicks, okay? And just here, switching to landing page views, if you wanted to optimize towards landing page views, that's going to, instead of the algorithm sort of targeting users who are more likely to click on an ad, it's going to be targeting users who are more likely to stay on the landing page for a number of seconds after they've clicked on the ad. So the idea there is that if you're optimizing towards landing page views, it's going to be targeting users who are more engaged. So that's something you can test definitely with a traffic objective. Test out sort of optimizing to link clicks and then optimizing to landing page views and sort of trying to figure out which one gets you the best results there. Bid amount, I would leave this as automatic. I would only do manual if it's an ongoing campaign, more of an always-on type campaign, and you've got a good idea of the amount you are paying for clicks. Because if you just jump in, choose manual and say, I only want to spend 40 cents, you're probably not going to get that many results. You're not going to build up that much data. You want to sort of figure out what you can pay with that targeting in place and then go from there. I would leave your delivery type to standard. You can't change that to accelerated unless you're doing manual bidding anyway. As you can see there, yeah, it only works with manual bid. So I would leave it as delivery type standard, which means it's going to evenly pace out your spend based on your flight dates of your campaign. If you had it on manual and accelerated, you could potentially spend all your budget in 20% of the time, basically. If there's people out there willing to see your ad, they're in your target audience, Facebook's just going to start delivering the ads regardless of sort of the time frame that you would like to spend out in. So once you've done that, you can click through into the ad level. I'm just going to leave that for now. We can go through setting up an ad in another one.